Well, hi y'all, this is Ginger with Ginger Snap Thrifting. Y'all, it is a cold, dreary, cold, icy day here in Marshall, Texas. I've got my big thick sweater on, I've got my sweatpants on. Hopefully y'all won't have to see that because I'm not nothing to look at in a pair of sweatpants. But y'all, it is chilly today. The schools are closed down. They thought the roads were gonna ice. At the last minute, some warm breezes up from the Gulf came up and pushed some of the cold weather a little further north. But it is drizzly, rainy. You can see how dreary it is out my window. Windows are all fogged up. And they say we've got even colder weather coming in tonight. I did look out the window a while ago and saw some big, fat, fluffy white snowflakes falling, but it's a little bit too warm for the snow to stick. So, you know, the kids, they always hope for snow, and I don't mind seeing it as long as I can sit inside and look at it. I don't like to get out in it, y'all. So, I am not going to be out thrifting in this weather, y'all. It is cold. A lot of the places are closed down because, listen, you folks up north don't laugh at us, but down here in Texas, we don't get a whole lot of icy roads, and these people don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to drive in it. They don't know how to dress for it. We're just not prepared for this, y'all. We get just a few days a year of really bad weather, and it's just safer all around to close everything down. So I am going to be here around the old blue house, and I thought today would be an awesome day to make some homemade bread. And I'm going to use one of my thrift finds from back in the summer, I think, to do that. So let's see what I've got. So this is my bread machine. And you see, I've even got the owner's manual with it. I'm not sure it had ever been used. I went to an estate sale back in the summer, and I was on the last day of the estate sale in the afternoon, and everything was 75% off. And this was sitting on the floor in the garage under a table, and it had a $20 price tag on it. So you know that means it was going to be $5. Well, I don't know. I didn't know if it worked. And you know, when you buy something used, there's no guarantee that it works. But anyway, they wanted $5 for it. So I decided, well, heck, it'll be worth $5, right? All right, well, y'all, I have a killer recipe for 100% whole wheat bread. And 100% whole wheat bread can be kind of tricky, but I've got a secret ingredient. But it is an epic fail in this bread machine, y'all. I know because I've tried it. So the bread machine manual has a 100% whole wheat bread recipe for a 2-pound loaf, and this is a 2-pound bread machine. So you really need to make a big loaf to go in here. So we're going to get started on that here in just a minute. Let me get my ingredients out. Well, okay, I've got my ingredients here, y'all. To start with, this is my pan that goes in my bread maker. You always put the wet ingredients in first unless your machine tells you differently. So here I've got 1 2/3 cup of water, and I did heat this up because, y'all, the water comes out of my tap so hot that it feels like it's burning you. And then we need 2 tablespoons of butter. And it should be softened. And this is not soft, so give me a minute while I soften this. Well, y'all, I have to apologize. My phone's doing some crazy stuff today. I've turned it off. I've let it set off. I've recharged it. It's just doing some crazy stuff. So I lost a little bit of footage. But let me tell you what I've done. In my bread machine pan, I have put in 1 2/3 cup of water. Now the water comes out my tap in the winter so cold that it feels like it's burning you. So I did pop it in the microwave and heated it up to about 97, 98 degrees. Just about baby bath water temperature, okay? And then I added 1/3 cup packed brown sugar and 2 tablespoons softened butter. Now, if you're watching your saturated fat intake, I'm sure you can substitute the oil of your choice for that butter. Now we are adding our flour. The recipe calls for 4 2/3 cup of whole wheat flour. So this is just plain old store brand whole wheat flour. Now, let me show y'all how to measure your flour because it's important. You don't want to just dig your cup in there and scoop it out. Let me turn this down a little bit. Oh, too much. Because you'll pack too much flour in your cup. You want to take a spoon and spoon your flour into your cup. And you want to spoon it in, you want to kind of heap it up over the top so it's like a heaping cup. So let me get that heaped up. And it works a lot better if you're working out of a canister, but my canister hadn't been washed to put this fresh flour in. So you see how I've got it heaped up kind of. Now you're going to take the flat side of a butter knife, you're going to lay it down there, you're just going to scoop that off back into the container. And just make sure you keep both edges level on the edges of your cup so that you have a real level cup. And that's how you want to measure your flour. Now, if it gives you the opportunity to weigh your flour, your recipe, that's really better. But this did not tell me how many ounces or grams or whatever. So then you want to just spoon your flour in gently. You don't want to just dump it in because what you really want is for your flour to kind of float on that liquid. So I'm going to put the rest of this flour in so you don't have to sit and watch that. Okay, I've got 4 1/3 cup in there. I'm just going to get this last little third cup in measured out. You see, even on the little third cup measures, I'm using the spoon method. And there we go. All right. Next, we've got salt. And this recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of salt. All right. And that's going to be level teaspoons, y'all, level. So on your salt, you really want to put your salt kind of over in the corner. So I'm putting a little in each corner because you don't want your salt to touch your wheat. Now, this recipe doesn't tell you this, but trust me, you don't want your salt to touch your wheat because your salt can deactivate your wheat. Now, why, you may ask, do you put sugar in it? Well, sugar gives the wheat a little oomph so it can start going until it starts digesting the flour, because you know wheat is a living organism. Now, the last thing is 3 teaspoons of active dry yeast. I've got bread machine instant yeast. It's going to be fine. But you don't want the yeast to touch the water. I'm poking a hole in here. Can y'all see how I poked a hole in that flour? But I don't want the hole to go down to the water. Now I'm going to put 3 level teaspoons of yeast right there in that little hole. 2, 3. All right. Now, before I go anything further, I'm going to double check my recipe. 1 2/3 cup water, 2 tablespoons butter or margarine, 1/3 cup packed brown sugar, 2 teaspoons salt, 4 2/3 cup whole wheat flour, and 3 teaspoons active dry yeast. All right, if y'all have ever watched the baking shows and their bake doesn't turn out and then they realize they forgot to put something in, it's always good to double check yourself. All right, now all we have to do is put this puppy in the bread machine, set it, and let it go. Okay, I've set my machine for the whole wheat setting and for a medium crust. Now I'm going to press start, and it's going to start doing its thing. You'll see it in there. And according to the timer, it's going to take 3 hours and 40 minutes. So, in 3 hours and 40 minutes, I'll be back to show you what we got. Well, all right, y'all, my bread machine beeped. It's telling me it's ready to take the bread out. Let's see what we've got. Ooh, y'all, this looks delicious. Hold that little handle there with the pot holder. I'm going to grab it with your hand. Pull it out of there. You see it poking up over the top of that? Turn this phone down a little bit. Got a rack here. Probably need another pot holder. Turn it upside down, see if it'll come out easy for me. There it comes. It's always hard to get it off that peg in there. All right, y'all. Look at that beautiful loaf. I don't much care for the shape of these loaves because they're a weird shape. They're not a good loaf bread shape. See, it kind of sunk down in there a little bit, but I think that'll be all right. And I'm gonna let this cool a little bit, and then I'll come back and we'll cut it. Before I do, I want to say something to y'all about this yeast. Anytime you buy yeast, you have to make sure that it's not expired. Whether you buy the little packets or a jar, you always want to find the expiration date, because those little packets and these little jars are so small that they don't always get caught on the grocery store shelf, and you can find expired yeast sitting in there. So this doesn't expire until June 26th, 2026. And if you buy these jars of yeast, do not transfer them over in your cute little containers. These lids have a rubber gasket in there that helps it seal. Put the lid on tight, and after you've opened it, you keep it in the refrigerator. Okay, well, I'm gonna let this cool for a bit, and then we'll come cut us a piece of bread. Well, I am ready to cut this bread. It's still warm. My house smells so good. Y'all, in this wet, cold, rainy weather, I crave carbohydrates. Do y'all crave carbohydrates in the winter? I do. And I could just go to the grocery store and buy all the little Debbies and Hostess Twinkies and cookies. But if I'm gonna eat a bunch of carbohydrates, I want it to be really, really good. I want it to have some nourishment. I want it to be made in the kitchen, not in a lab or a factory. And so this is gonna be so much better than a slice of bread out of a package. So I've got my bread knife here. This is what you want to cut bread. You want a serrated bread knife, and you don't want to use your bread knife for anything but cutting bread. You don't want to use it to hack through a piece of frozen something or to saw through anything. You just want to use it for bread. And y'all be careful with these, because even a kind of a lower quality one will cut through your skin like it's going through butter. I know, because I've done it before in my own fingers. So I'm going to turn this down so we can see, and I'm going to get a cutting block. I still got my bread sitting on the cooling rack. That cooling rack will bend under the pressure. So, tip this down. Well, I am ready to cut this bread. It's still warm. My house smells so good. Y'all, in this wet, cold, rainy weather, I crave carbohydrates. Do y'all crave carbohydrates in the winter? I do. And I could just go to the grocery store and buy all the little Debbies and Hostess Twinkies and cookies. But if I'm gonna eat a bunch of carbohydrates, I want it to be really, really good. I want it to have some nourishment. I want it to be made in the kitchen, not in a lab or a factory. And so this is gonna be so much better than a slice of bread out of a package. So I've got my bread knife here. This is what you want to cut bread. You want a serrated bread knife, And you don't want to use your bread knife for anything but cutting bread. You don't want to use it to hack through a piece of frozen something or to saw through anything. You just want to use it for bread. And y'all be careful with these, because even a kind of a lower quality one will cut through your skin like it's going through butter. I know, because I've done it before in my own fingers. So I'm going to turn this down so we can see, and I'm going to get a cutting block. I still got my bread sitting on the cooling rack. That cooling rack will bend under the pressure. So, tip this down. Well, all right. I am cutting this. And you see, I'm not really sawing, I'm just letting the knife do the work. I mean, I am sawing, I am going back and forth, but I'm not pressing down, I'm not bearing down, letting the knife cut through the bread. And y'all, I think the medium setting on the crust might be a little bit too dark for me. This really seems to be a thick crust. Turn this over so I can get that one last little piece cut. There we go. But look, y'all, look at that. Doesn't that look gorgeous? I wish y'all could smell it. It smells so delicious. I'm gonna break a little piece off. Nice chewy crust. Delicious baked bread flavor. It's got that nice dark whole wheat flavor. Try it with a little bit of butter here. There is nothing better than home baked bread with some butter on it. And y'all, I like the real butter, not that fake stuff. Y'all, that's really good. Well, y'all, this is delicious. This bread turned out so pretty. I'm so happy with it. I will definitely be making this recipe again for my family. Y'all, my stomach is growling after that one bite. I'm gonna have to cut this short, and I'm gonna have to go eat this bread with some more butter on it, y'all, and maybe a little jam. But hey, thanks for watching till the end. And if you're not a subscriber, I invite you to subscribe. If you ring the bell, it'll let you know when I set another video up. I don't know what else I'm gonna be doing around the old blue house. I'm gonna be trying to stay dry. If I can get out to some thrift shops, I will. There will not be any garage sales, I'm sure. And if there are, they're gonna have to have their garage sale without this girl. Anyway, I appreciate y'all. I pray God's blessings on you and your family. This is Ginger with Ginger Snap Thrifting.